You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And all the stories and all the vibes and all the publicity and all the stuff, as you sit here at 10-1, you really haven't accomplished one thing yet that you wanted to. Not a single one. Been pretty good, but you're still not guaranteed to go play in Arlington. You're still not. The CFP talk is all hypothetical, and we know that these rankings are weekly, and it's all kind of laying it out there, assuming that certain things happen. But all of it is just it's a lot, because Chris Level 2 years ago, when we started this thing, or 3 years ago, whatever, talking about a bye or CFP talk, I'm like, am I on the wrong show? I mean, that's just where we were at. It just seems so like unattainable. And yet the rules have changed, and you've put it together, and it is absolutely right there, all within your grasp, every single bit of it, like winning the whole damn thing, which would be extremely difficult to get done, because some of what you've maneuvered through to this point, those dynamics would change the further you go in this tournament if you get in it.
Yeah, and it's taken a hell of a toll on you just to get to this point in time. So you can only imagine how difficult it would be further down the road. But yeah, it's amazing, and it really even more so amazing, I think, going back to just considering Coach McGuire kind of getting a bowl footing back under your program, which was sort of a minimum expectation of where you would think you would be. But considering that you've been able to solidify yourself in the most important areas in the trenches, really playing defense, getting after the quarterback, taking the football away, special teams coming online in an advantageous way. It's just hard to consider, Chris, but we shouldn't be surprised with the result when you're able to do those kinds of things. That's going to lead, obviously, to winning football, but still got to go out and get it all. And you're exactly right. You have not really achieved anything that you were setting out to achieve yet. We mentioned that on Sunday's reaction episode. It wasn't about setting out to beat UCF or get 10 wins or more in the regular season. No. It was about Arlington and then setting yourself up for big opportunity on the other side of that. So hopefully Texas Tech is able to maintain and continue to head in that direction. But it's fascinating to see you there. I was just considering that earlier in the week and looking at a college football playoff ranking graphic, and you're just there with Ohio State, and you're there with Georgia, and you're there with Indiana, and then the dregs of society, somebody you're in a coin flip series with, the Aggies are there as well, even though you've been about $200 million behind them historically. I don't want to get bogged down in that matchup or that series, Chris, but it's wild to see the logos stacked up around the double T and not feeling like you've got to be smoke and mirrors or perfection in some of these settings to compete, again, because of what I've already said. You're very, very sound in the most important. First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, and football is in full force, and FanDuel's keeping you stocked with action every game day with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Any way you like it, FanDuel has you covered. Quick, easy, and secure every time. If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Certain areas.
It's totally normal and almost expected, which it's like quickly. I mean, how quick things have changed. Like, who are all of us to go, well, of course you moved up to fifth. And like, yeah, I mean, like, right. I mean, but yet, That's how good this defense has been. That's how explosive your offense has been. That's how consistent and steady your season has been, large in part. To where it's not like, man, if you play a really good game, then maybe if you dare to dream a little bit, you're because I mean, how many times have you just blown somebody out and you didn't play very well this year? I mean, like, how many times has the head coach been like, there's an extra gear there, and you would go, God, dude, you just won by 30 points, and we would all go, yeah, there is probably an extra gear, because you, with the turnovers or penalties or red zone issues, whatever, spin the wheel and pick whatever ails you, but it's just these are wild times, man, because this is, in this sport, this is the hardest club to crack. pushing through. You go back and look at history, and obviously the beautiful thing about expanded playoff is it allows more access. Then the rules changed and all these things with NIL and all that stuff, which has allowed you to kind of kick the door in a little bit. But you just go back and look, there's only like, I don't know, 5 to 7 teams or whatever it is that have won national championships over the last like 50 years or something. I mean, there may be more than that, but it's a small select club. You know, your Bamas, your Georgias, your LSUs, your Michigans, your Ohio States, your Clemsons. I mean, there's just not a whole lot else that have been able to have that kind of party, and yet here you are with a realistic opportunity, and there's nothing fluky about it. The other thing I wanted to bring up too before we move on from just the CFP topic, I am wildly fascinated to see how the Ole Miss scenario plays out here as it relates to Lane Kiffin. They are 10-1. They should finish 11-1. May or may not be in Atlanta for the SEC championship game. I'm thinking they're probably hoping that they're not, just because it's one less, issue that they've got to maneuver through. But their head coaching situation is a bit tenuous. There's ultimatums being thrown around, or rumored to be being thrown around. There's job offers. There's plane tracking going on. There's the family and the ex-wife toured this city and that city and all that stuff. There's yoga being done with his current boss and school president and all that stuff. Everything's fine here. There's been no ultimatum thrown around. Okay, it's just all a lot. And it appears that there's a decision that is needing to be made. And maybe at the time that the rankings come out, this decision is put to bed and all that stuff. I think there's a chance he could leave, talking about Lane Kiffin, probably to Florida, if I was guessing, not LSU. But I think that, LSU threw him top of the industry salary money and has made that offer. And he's got a guaranteed lengthy contract that he could, if he wants to live in Baton Rouge, he has that opportunity. If this is still hanging out there, or if he's like, hey, I'm going to stay, I'm going to coach my guys through the deal, but I'm going to accept this job, is that factor into any of the CFP's thought process? Because you just can't tell me that's the real Ole Miss that everybody that they're evaluating all year, if they've got a head coach 1 foot out the door or anything like that. I wouldn't buy it.
What are you talking about, basing something on precedent? What are you, nuts? Since they've already done that for a QB or for some other obscure angle of a team, even if it's not a starting quarterback, that'd be crazy. So definitely wouldn't factor in the head coach being gone. And by the way, if they do lose him, congratulations to Ole Miss and all of their efforts that culminated essentially in beating at the hands of Tyler Shuck. Terrific. What a run you guys have been on. I'd like to see him bounce. I don't like Lane Kiffin, but I'm annoyed by Ole Miss as well, so I'd like to see them have to sort of reset and maybe get back into appropriately sized britches, and we'll see what Lane can do elsewhere. I'm sure continuing to be annoying himself, but simultaneously entertaining. But yeah, what an interesting question you posed, Chris. Really quickly, good idea, bad idea for a school to give an ultimatum on the timeline that Ole Miss was attempting or is attempting?
Yeah, I think the whole thing is awkward. It is tricky. I think that they are to the point, whether this was like a real thing or it was kind of a strongly hinted at, or whatever the reality is, Ole Miss has to be sitting there going, there's a realistic chance that he is not coaching here anymore.
Sure.
If not, what do we do? All these other schools, especially because they're feeling pressure, because look, Auburn, Florida, LSU are all circling and all that. So if Lane Kiffin is not here, he would fill one of those spots, obviously. What do we do? We're probably going to be talking to or wanting to talk to some of the same folks these other folks are talking to. And yet we have so much at stake. We are 6th in the country, and we don't want to go backwards, and so they're kind of probably trying to – because if he was staying,